This is the issue. Students from lower wage earning families are not getting the education they need. Either their parents work multiple jobs and are not at home to help their child with their homework, or the parents are not educated enough themselves to answer the students' questions. Another big issue for these types of families is that a larger number of them are ESL families, or English as a second language. This is because if a family moves from another country for one reason or another, their schooling levels might not be at the same level as what grade of school their children are in. Also, there has been a trend of teachers failing to notice this and not paying as much attention to these students as they should.
We all feel very passionate about helping others, especially children. We decided that tutoring was the best way to help children succeed in school and life. On January 10th, 2012, we started tutoring at Cornelia.
Society is negatively impacted in a number of ways. Our future generation of working Americans will suffer if its adults cannot work in jobs that need to be fulfilled. This could start a chain reaction, decreasing America's productivity and bringing down the economy if things get really bad.
The Homework Help program that we are working with concentrates on working one-on-one with children that don't get help at home. It originated in Cornelia and is run by one of the staff. This is a relatively new program and works on helping the children learn outside the classroom and teaches them to become more efficient with their study habits.
On February 18th, 2012, we started tutoring at Concord.
On February 21st, 2012, we interviewed Ms. Olski, the head of the tutoring department at Cornelia Elementary School.
I am Marla Zoski, and I'm a teacher at Cornelia. I'm a Title I teacher, which means that I work with funds that Mrs. Manderfield gets funding for us to work with kids who are struggling to read, to do math. And so I'm a separate second teacher in the classroom during math and reading during the day. So I'm a certified teacher and work with a lot of these kids at Homework Help during the day as well as at Homework Help.
Studies done by the U.S. Department of Education show out-of-school time programs have positive effects on reading and mathematics scores in low-achieving students, and that out-of-school time programs that provide one-on-one tutoring appear to be particularly effective in improving reading scores.
Tutoring seems to be driven by two major factors. First, the continuing national and international reports that find far too many U.S. students and adults are educationally deficient in some respects. Their literacy skills are low. Up to 50% of urban youth fail to graduate from high school, or Americans are reading less.
Title funding, Title I teacher means we get federally funded money through a Title I program, and sometimes the district puts money in, and sometimes we get federal money. And that's to help with kids in the school who are free and reduced lunch. That kind of helps determine how much money you get from the government. And so Cornelia is the school in Edina that has the most diversity and the most economic differences, and so we get a bigger chunk of funding here than some of the other elementary schools. And so we actually have 5 Title I teachers in the school, where some of the other schools have maybe 1 or a half of a teacher. So.
As the demand for tutors is increasing, teacher shortages are also growing across America. The demographic shift has begun that will see many baby boomers retiring from the classroom. In 2010, over 22 million new teachers were needed in the United States.
So these kids all are below the 40th percentile in their MAP scores. So those are kind of what we look at first. And most of the kids live in the apartments on Park Lawn Gallagher because the bus will pick them up here and take them home. So that's our first. So we go 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders below the 40th percentile in MAP tests. And then if they're in the apartments, they get first priority because it's so easy with the bus. Then once those spots are all full, then we look at will parents drive their kids. If they don't live over there, then we allow it. If parents are committed, then we start getting that next tier of kids that don't live in the apartment but are still in the 40th percentile, and that's who we get next. We try to give it more to 5th grade, more 5th grade, and then 4th and then 3rd, because they have the most homework and they have kind of the most meaty kind of work to do.
As seen on the chart, this is one of the studies REAP has done. This shows the before and after effects of peer tutoring and pay for grade, or an expensive outside school tutoring program. These results show that those students who participated in the peer tutoring intervention increased their standardized test scores by a statistically significant 0.14 standard deviation percent, which is very promising for the peer tutoring initiative.
But what is good about the Homework Help program, and I've been doing this for 2 years now, but it's been going on for a few years. We kind of tweak it every year, but the best part of it is that with peers, I mean, look at your relationship with those girls is magical, because they might not have a big sister, or they might not have anybody that sits down with them for an hour a week and just gives them full attention. You know, think how busy our lives are. Sometimes even our parents, how often do you get an hour a day of your parents' full attention? So they have someone else in their life that cares about them. And whether it's an adult that's here, or whether it's kids from high school or Southview or whatever, they're getting some direct attention and modeling and mentoring, as well as academic help. But it's the social piece is real critical too.
The American Psychological Association did studies on how students thought they performed on tests before and after peer tutoring sessions. This study demonstrates that tutorial interaction can be structured so that same ability age mates can scaffold each other's higher order thinking and learning. 7th graders were assigned in pairs to 3 mutual peer tutoring conditions: explanation only, or E, inquiry plus explanation, or IE, and sequence inquiry plus explanation, SIE. Tutorial sessions followed teacher-led science lessons over a 5-week treatment. As seen from the graph, SIE students outperformed E and IE students by a large number, which shows how good peer tutoring to student interaction can increase results by a vast factor.
Absolutely, it's huge.
Yeah.
And last year, we didn't have enough volunteers for Homework Help for one-on-one, so we had one for every 2. So you would have 2 kids, you would have had 2. And obviously I'd try to give you 2 3rd graders or 2 4th graders. It wasn't half as effective. More discipline problems. The kids weren't getting what they needed, and they're dividing their attention between 2 was hard for the volunteers. Because I really think the one-on-one, now that we've done it this way for almost a year, 100% better. And that's how I think we'll continue to do it.
Another company, EDUCAUSE Quarterly, published a study regarding a hybrid course model for high failure rate math classes in colleges. As seen from the graph, in the fall of 2007, the average score of the final of the math class was 65 out of 100 questions right. A new idea was adopted, where students use study hours to tutor each other and go over course materials a few times a week. The increase in student performance of the final was drastic. The average score rose from 65 to 85, from a D to a B. And instead of the usual downward trend in the scores, it now trends upward, more students getting more problems right. As the graph shows, there was a vast improvement in both the students' average scores and the distribution of the grades.
Is one-on-one, which I said it is new this year we're doing. I mean, that's huge. The fact that the kids get an adult's attention for a full hour, I can't tell you how important that is. That's why I say don't have your phone out or anything. It's like give them solid attention, because it is so magical for them to have someone care that much about them. I have you write notes to them sometimes. I think that connection is really cool to say, I really noticed that you've been doing this, this, and this. They keep those when they can. They'll keep those, and they'll have them up in their rooms, or they'll have them by their beds. I mean, those things are really cool. Just the fact that you just are encouraging and supporting is just huge. They need another adult or kid in their life who cares about them, and that's huge. And then just the other positive thing, in particular with your grade levels, is that you've done this recently, and you had strategies that worked, and now you can kind of say, well, here's something. Maybe you're teaching it a little differently, but it might make clear sense to them, and maybe the way the teacher did wasn't. So I think that your age level, they look to you as models.
The government is also helping in a number of ways. The No Child Left Behind law lets students that attend failing schools eligible to receive free tutoring. Also, a Minnesota law gives schools the right to also choose to provide tutoring before or after school hours for students who may need it.
I don't have enough room for more kids. I mean, really, there's more kids that could would really benefit from it. They want to start maybe looking down into second grade. I don't know if second grade has quite enough homework for an hour. But no, there's not much bad about it at all. Absolutely, it's huge.
Yeah.
And last year, we didn't have enough volunteers for homework help for one-on-one, so we had one for every two. So you would have 2 kids, you would have had 2. And obviously, I'd try to give you 2 third graders or 2 fourth graders. It wasn't half as effective, more discipline problems. The kids weren't getting what they needed, and they're dividing their attention between 2 was hard for the volunteers. So this year, Marcia Friedman, who you went through to become a volunteer, I said, I will add kids as we get more volunteers. You know what, it depends on what it is. I mean, like tonight, I saw this guy in here working on math facts. I mean, for this kid to finally get his math facts down is a lifetime thing. You know how that is. You see people still doing it by their fingers. It's like to really understand that concept is going to carry him on forever. And reading, if you do 15 minutes of reading with them every time, each of those times builds, and the strategies that you do with them. I mean, I think most of the time, it's a bump, but sometimes it's long term. It kind of depends. And no, I would elaborate to say I think it's one of the most powerful things that we do, to be honest with you. And I don't know if you guys know this, but if they come to homework help once a week, they can also go to the YMCA once a week. Did they talk about Y-Rocks?
Yeah.
And so the Edina community and the YMCA brings a little bus over, and these same kids another night a week get to go to the Y and do fun things. So twice a week, one night they're getting physically fit, and the other night they're here. So it's a 2-night kind of thing, which is really cool for them. So it's an effective program because the whole community is kind of working with this spectrum of students to help them succeed. And it's just one more piece of an intervention we can do. Definitely benefits the tutors. My husband's a tutor. He comes on Tuesday nights, and his paralegal. I mean, his law firm sends 4 people over here. Then there's a bunch of kids, and there's most of the volunteers that we had last year who are adults are back. They come back because they make it fulfilling to them. And in particular, the teachers are on board, so there's the homework sheet comes. They know that it's meaningful work that they're doing, so I think that it's really beneficial, and I hope you guys feel that it is too, that these kids look up to you and that you're making a difference, because you are. You really are. So I hope that you feel. Oh, absolutely. It's growing every year. Like I say, the community's aware of it now, the teachers are on board, so it's really kind of it's coming full circle. So, yeah, I've got lots of ideas for next year, how we can even improve it more, so that's good.
The revolution in peer tutoring is happening, benefiting not only ESL students, but also students of all ages and affecting the outcome of student work in a wide variety of subjects. We are very happy to contribute to students' learning while tutoring at Cornelia, and it paid off for us as well as our dedicated students.